Genetics doesn't work the way you think. Extended version. Hello, friends. Today we're going to talk about the craziest and most amazing thing in the world of science: genetics. You think you know how your body works. Prepare to be shocked because reality is far more interesting than any sci-fi movie. We'll start with a story that shook the entire scientific world. Imagine a woman named Lydia Fairchild. An ordinary woman who got divorced and took a DNA test to receive state benefits. And what did she see in the results? Her husband was indeed the father of all three of her children, but the problem was she herself was not their biological mother. The legal system concluded that Lydia had acted as a surrogate mother, but when they did a DNA test of her own mother, something incredible was revealed. Lydia was the grandmother of all three of her children. How is this possible? The answer lies in a rare and amazing phenomenon called genetic chimerism. The story of Lydia Fairchild. Imagine this. You're married, you have 3 children, you take a routine DNA test, and suddenly you get news that could be a plot from House MD. Lydia Fairchild divorced her husband and was taking a paternity test for benefits. The results showed that the husband was the father of the children, but she herself was not the mother. The court decided she had been a surrogate mother, but a DNA test of her mother showed she was the grandmother of all the children. It's as if you gave birth to your own grandmothers. Genetic chimera. A genetic chimera is a person in whose body two different groups of cells with different genetic profiles coexist. In Lydia's case, during fetal development, she had a twin who did not survive, but its cells did not die, they merged with Lydia's cells. As a result, cells from 2 different people existed in her body. Moreover, it was the cells of the deceased twin that formed her reproductive system, so the children born from her were genetically related to this second person inside her. It's as if 2 different people lived in one body, and one of them became the father of the children carried by the second person. Such cases are extremely rare, but they are real and confirmed by scientific research. Imagine that your twin brother lives in your body, was born before you, and helps you have children. Sounds like a plot for a sci-fi series, but it's reality. Genetic mutations. Did you know that there are people with a mutation that doubles muscle mass? Such cases really happen, and they demonstrate how powerful the influence of a single mutation can be. Imagine a person who can gain muscle mass without training. It's as if you had a personal genetic trainer working 24/7. Genes determine not only appearance but also temperament, intelligence, predispositions to various diseases, and even abilities. We often think that our personality is formed solely by upbringing and environment, but in fact, genes play a much more significant role than we used to think. It's as if you had a built-in GPS that determines your life's route, but you can still choose where to turn. The influence of genes. Genes influence literally every aspect of our lives. They determine how we react to stress, our food preferences, whether we are prone to depression or anxiety, how quickly we learn, and even how we make decisions. It's as if you had a personal life manager constantly advising you on what to do. Ahead of us is a discussion of many fascinating topics: chromosomes, cloning, the homunculus theory, the uniqueness of every sperm, and much more. But first, let's understand the basics. What are chromosomes? They're tightly packed structures of DNA that contain all the genetic information of a cell. Humans have 46 chromosomes, 23 from the mother and 23 from the father. Interestingly, the number of chromosomes varies enormously among different organisms. The fruit fly Drosophila has only 8 chromosomes, while some plants can have almost 1,500. Can you imagine? Even an ordinary cake has chromosomes 42 in the cake layer and 60 in the cream. But it's important to understand that the number of chromosomes does not determine the complexity of an organism. Genetic information is transmitted through the chromosomes themselves, not through their quantity. It's as if you had 46 books in a library, and each book contained unique information about your life. History of genetic theories. In the 17th century, scientists believed in the theory of blood mixing, and later the homunculus theory arose the idea that a fully formed tiny human was inside the sperm. Of course, today we know this is not true. Sperm contain DNA, not a little man. But even now, knowing the full complexity of the process, we continue to discover amazing things about how the reproductive system works. For example, how many DNA molecules are contained in the nucleus of one cell? The answer will astonish you. Billions of base pairs encoded in the double helix that contains all the information about the future organism. It's as if you had a library with billions of books, each containing information about your future. Modern knowledge of DNA. Sperm contain not a human, but DNA. And how many DNA molecules are in a cell's nucleus? The answer will surprise you. Imagine that inside every cell of your body is a real computer with billions of gigabytes of information. And this information is your genetic map, which determines who you are. It's as if you had a personal computer that contains all the information about your body, from eye color to predisposition to certain diseases. Chromosomes and their number. We have 46 chromosomes, 23 from dad, 23 from mom. A fly has 8, some plants have almost 1,500. Even a cake has chromosomes, 42 in the cake and 60 in the cream. But it's important to understand that the number of chromosomes does not determine the complexity of an organism. Genetic information is transmitted through the chromosomes themselves, not through their quantity. It's as if you had 46 books in a library, and each book contained unique information about your life. Imagine you have a library with 46 books, and each book tells about different aspects of your life. One book is about your character, another about your health, a third about your abilities. And all these books together create the unique story of your life. Uniqueness of sperm. Every sperm is like a snowflake. They exchange genes randomly, and only the fastest and healthiest make it to the egg. It's as if you had 1,000,000 sperm participating in a race, and only one can win. And that winner becomes the father of the future child. It's a real biological Formula 1 race where only the fastest and most resilient can reach the finish line. Formation of eggs. Eggs are formed even before birth. A pregnant woman is a matryoshka doll of future children. A little bit from dad, a little bit from mom. This really works. Imagine you are pregnant, and inside you are already the eggs of your future grandchildren. It's as if you were a matryoshka doll, inside of which were other dolls. And when the time comes, these eggs will be used to create new lives. This is an amazing process that shows how complex and beautiful nature can be. Heredity and mutations. Eye color, blood type, even blue eyes, all are the result of mutations. And did you know that the Habsburg jaw was passed down through incest? It's as if you had a genetic lottery where you could win either superpowers or serious diseases. Genes determine not only appearance but also predisposition to various diseases. And sometimes these mutations can be both a blessing and a curse. Imagine you have a genetic code that could make you a superhuman but could also cause serious health problems. Genetic diseases before conception get a genetic test. In Iceland, they even check ancestry through apps before dates. It's as if you had a personal genetic detective checking your lineage before every date. And this is no joke. Such apps really exist in Iceland to help avoid genetic diseases. This shows how seriously genetics is taken in that country. Imagine going on a first date and instead of talking about hobbies, you discuss your lineage and genetic diseases. Sounds like a plot for a comedy series, but it's reality. Cloning and its limitations. Dolly the sheep, the result of 276 failures. Human cloning is extremely inefficient. Genes need to be preserved, and that's difficult. Imagine trying to create a copy of yourself and needing to conduct 276 failed experiments before you get a result. It's as if you were playing a video game where you need to pass 176 levels before reaching the finale. And even then, the result might not be what you expected. Cloning is a complex and dangerous process that requires enormous resources and time. Identical twins, genetic clones. Their children from different partners will be genetically siblings. And the differences. Moles and fingerprints are the result of random mutations. Imagine you have an identical twin brother and you are both married to different women. And your children will be genetic brothers and sisters, even though they have different mothers. It's as if you had a genetic lottery where you could win a brother or sister even after birth. And you can have different moles and fingerprints, making you unique despite sharing genetics. Twin research and meta-analysis of 30 million twins showed appearance, height, weight, even addictions match. 60 to 70% of twins share alcohol and nicotine addictions. It's as if you had a genetic GPS determining your life's route. And even if you go separate ways, you will still move along similar trajectories. This shows how strongly genes influence our lives. Imagine you have two identical cars and you drive on different roads, but despite different routes, you still arrive at the same place. The same with twins. Despite different life circumstances, they often choose similar paths. Influence of genes on success. Rich parents pass on not only money but also genes associated with success. 150 genes influencing income were found in 300,000 Britons. It's as if you had a genetic wallet that determines your financial success. And the more money you have in this wallet, the greater your chances of success in life. But it's important to understand that genes are only the starting capital. How you use this money is up to you. Imagine you have an inheritance from your parents, but you can either invest it wisely or waste it. It's the same with genes. They give you potential, but you need to realize it yourself. Genetic passport. A full genetic passport can be obtained from saliva. Find out your ethnicity, disease risks, and personalized recommendations. It's as if you had a personal genetic passport telling you about your past, present, and future. You can find out where your ancestors came from, what diseases to watch out for, and which foods are good for you. It's as if you had a personal doctor who knows you better than you know yourself. And that doctor is your own DNA. Epigenetics. Genes are a two-way street. Fear of a smell is transmitted through generations. Histones are curlers for DNA. Imagine your genes are a road you're driving on, and this road can change depending on how you behave. If you drive carefully and follow the rules, the road stays good, but if you drive recklessly, the road can deteriorate. It's the same with epigenetics. Your actions can change gene activity, and these changes can be passed on to the next generations. It's as if your children inherited not only your genes but also your driving habits. Influence of nutrition on height. South Korean school children are taller due to nutrition. The average height in Europe increased by 10 centimeters during the 20th century. It's as if you had a genetic thermometer showing how well you eat. And the better the nutrition, the taller you become. This shows that even seemingly fixed parameters like height can change under the influence of external factors. Imagine you could grow 10 centimeters just by eating right. It's as if you had a personal genetic growth trainer. Psychological help. The Yes No service can help you find a psychologist. Professionals with supervision and a code of ethics. It's as if you had a personal genetic psychologist helping you understand yourself. And this psychologist knows not only your thoughts and feelings but also your genetics. It's as if you had a superhero who can see your inner nature and help you become better. Imagine you could look inside yourself and understand why you are the way you are. And that superhero is your personal psychologist. Epigenetics and its role. Epigenetics determines which genes are activated. It influences what a cell will become. It's as if you had a personal genetic DJ choosing which songs to play in your body. And these songs are the genes that are activated or deactivated. Imagine you have a playlist that changes depending on your mood, diet, and lifestyle. It's the same with epigenetics. Your actions create a unique playlist for your life. Mini puberty and testosterone. The first hormonal surge in life. The activity of the SRY gene is linked to testosterone and penis size. It's as if you had a genetic alarm clock that goes off at a certain time and triggers a hormonal revolution in your body. And that alarm clock is mini puberty, which happens in early childhood. Imagine you are a small child and suddenly your body starts producing hormones that change your body. It's as if you had a personal genetic fireworks display set to go off at a specific time. Influence of milk on penis size: soy milk plus 1 millimeter, cow's milk minus 1 millimeters. Nutrition influences even this. It's as if you had a genetic dietitian who knows which milk is better for your development. And this dietitian says, if you drink soy milk, you'll be a millimeter longer. If cow's milk, a millimeter shorter. Imagine your choice of milk in childhood could affect your adult life. It's as if you had a personal genetic bartender who knows which cocktail is best for you. Transmission of epigenetics transmitted only through germ cells. Education and training are not transmitted, but alcohol and nicotine, yes. It's as if you had a genetic filter that only lets certain information through. And this information is the epigenetic changes transmitted through germ cells. Imagine your children will inherit not only your genes but also your habits. If you smoke, your children may inherit epigenetic changes related to smoking. It's as if you had a personal genetic archive saving your experience for future generations. Changing epigenetics through training: 6 weeks of training and cognitive abilities improve. It's as if you had a genetic trainer who can improve your brain in just 6 weeks. And this trainer says if you train for 6 weeks, your brain will get better. Imagine you could improve your intelligence just through physical exercise. It's as if you had a personal genetic fitness trainer for your brain. Examples of twins Jim Lewis and Jim Springer lived identically. Real cases show the power of epigenetics. Imagine you have an identical twin brother and you are both married to women named Linda, and you both have sons named James, and you both smoke cigars and enjoy woodworking. It's as if you had a genetic GPS leading you along identical routes. Imagine you and your twin are to ships sailing the same ocean and arriving at the same ports. It's the same with twins. Despite different life circumstances, they often choose similar paths. Conclusion: DNA is the starting hand, and epigenetics is how you play it. Pump up your brain and unlock your potential. It's as if you had a deck of cards and you can play them in different ways. Genes are the cards you were dealt, and epigenetics is how you use them. Imagine you are a professional player who knows how to win even with a bad hand. It's the same with genetics. You can unlock your potential despite your genes, and that makes you the true superhero of your own life. Subscribe, like, share with friends. Genetics is the madness we are just beginning to understand. Let's take a deeper look into the mechanisms that govern our lives at the most fundamental level. Have you ever thought about the fact that a real cosmic battle is happening inside every cell of your body? Billions of DNA molecules, thousands of genes constantly turning on and off, creating a unique symphony of life. But the most interesting thing is that this symphony is not static. It changes depending on how we live, what we eat, who we interact with, and even what thoughts we nurture. The genetic library. Imagine your body is a giant library where every book contains instructions for creating various proteins, enzymes, and other molecules necessary for life. But not all books are open at the same time. Some pages of this library can be marked with special bookmarks, chemical modifications that either allow or prohibit reading information from certain genes. These bookmarks are epigenetic marks, and they can change throughout life under the influence of external factors. This means you are literally rewriting your genetic program every day, just by living. It's as if you had a personal genetic editor constantly updating your life. Stress and epigenetics. Fun fact: even stress can leave epigenetic traces. When you experience severe stress, chemical changes occur in your body that can activate or deactivate certain genes. These changes can persist for a long time and in some cases even be passed on to the next generations. This explains why children of war veterans or victims of terrorist attacks can experience anxiety and stress disorders without having personally experienced such events. Their bodies remember the trauma of their ancestors at the genetic level. It's as if you had a genetic archive of fear passed down from generation to generation. Imagine your ancestors experienced a terrible tragedy and that fear was recorded in your DNA. And now you experience a fear you never lived through. DNA superpowers, but let's return to more concrete examples. Did you know that some people have a genetic mutation that makes them almost invulnerable to HIV? It's true. There is a mutation in the CCR5 gene that makes cell receptors inaccessible to the immunodeficiency virus. People with this mutation can be infected with HIV, but the virus cannot develop into a full-blown disease. This discovery was a real breakthrough in the fight against AIDS and showed how powerful the influence of a single mutation can be. Moreover, scientists are using this information to develop new treatments and even gene therapy. It's as if you had a genetic shield protecting you from dangerous viruses. Imagine you are a superhero who isn't afraid of HIV because you have a special mutation. People without pain. An even more amazing example is people with a mutation that makes them immune to pain. Imagine a life without pain. It might seem like a blessing, but pain is actually an important protective mechanism. People without the ability to feel pain often suffer serious injuries without noticing and die at a young age. But some mutations make people less sensitive to pain without completely depriving them of this ability. This opens up new possibilities for creating more effective painkillers. It's as if you had a genetic analgesic that works better than any pills. Imagine you could endure pain better than superheroes from comics. Superpower syndrome. Speaking of mutations, we must mention superpower syndrome. This is a rare condition where people possess phenomenal abilities. For example, there are people who can see in the dark better than cats or have super sharp hearing. There are cases of people who can remember every detail of their life from early childhood. This is hyperthymesia syndrome. There are even people who can see numbers and sounds in color. This is synesthesia. All these abilities are linked to genetic peculiarities, and they show how diverse human nature can be. It's as if you had a genetic supercomputer giving you incredible abilities. Imagine you could see in the dark, hear at a distance, and remember everything that happens in your life. Genetics in everyday life. But genetics isn't just about superpowers and mutations. It also explains many everyday things we don't even think about. For example, why can some people eat garlic while others emit an unpleasant smell afterward? It depends on the activity of certain enzymes that break down garlic compounds. Why are some people lactose intolerant? It's the result of a mutation that occurred thousands of years ago in pastoral peoples. Why are some people allergic to cats and others not? That's genetics too. Even food preferences, music, and even sense of humor can be partly determined by our genes. It's as if you had a genetic guide to life telling you what you like and what you don't. Imagine your food, music, and humor preferences are determined by your genes. It's as if you had a personal stylist who knows what suits you. Personality genes. One of the most interesting areas of genetic research is the study of so-called personality genes. Scientists have identified certain regions of DNA associated with character traits such as extroversion, neuroticism, conscientiousness, and openness to new experiences. This doesn't mean our personality is completely predetermined by genes, but genetics creates a certain foundation on which our character is built. Interestingly, these genes can manifest differently depending on upbringing and life circumstances. This means we have a certain genetic predisposition, but how we realize it is up to us. It's as if you had a genetic blueprint for a house, but you decide how to build it. Imagine your character traits are a genetic foundation on which you build your personality. Twins and personality. Let's return to the topic of twins. Studies of identical twins have shown striking coincidences not only in physical characteristics but also in behavior. Twins raised in different families often choose the same profession, marry people with similar names, have the same habits, and even react similarly to stressful situations. This suggests that genetics influences not only our body but also our behavior, thinking, and choices. But at the same time, each twin remains a unique individual because epigenetics and life experience create their own imprints. It's as if you had a genetic double living in another country but making the same choices as you. Imagine you have an identical twin brother living in another part of the world, but he chooses the same profession, marries a woman with a similar name, and even wears the same glasses. Genetics of aging. Another amazing area is the genetics of aging. Scientists have discovered that the length of telomeres, protective caps on the ends of chromosomes, is directly linked to lifespan. Each time a cell divides, telomeres become shorter, and when they become too short, the cell stops dividing and begins to age. But there are genes that can slow this process. People with certain variants of these genes live longer and remain healthy in old age. This discovery could lead to drugs that slow aging and increase lifespan. It's as if you had a genetic timer determining how long you will live. And some people have longer-lasting batteries. Imagine you could live longer simply because you have special genes. Genetics of disease. Genetics also explains why some people are more prone to certain diseases. For example, there is a genetic predisposition to diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancer, and many other illnesses. But it's important to understand that predisposition is not a sentence. Many of these diseases can be prevented or delayed with the right lifestyle. This again emphasizes the importance of epigenetics. We can influence how our genes manifest. It's as if you had a genetic weather forecast telling you which diseases might threaten you. But you can take an umbrella and not get sick. Imagine you know which diseases threaten you and can prevent them with the right lifestyle. Personalized medicine. An interesting example is the genetics of the immune system. Every person has a unique set of genes responsible for immune response. This explains why some people easily catch colds while others get seriously ill. Why some patients respond well to certain medications and others don't. This has led to the development of personalized medicine, where treatment is tailored individually based on the patient's genetic profile. In the future, this could become the standard of medical practice. It's as if you had a personal doctor who knows your genetics and selects treatment specifically for you. Imagine going to the doctor and he already knows which medicines will suit you because he has your genetic profile. Genetics of nutrition. Speaking of personalization, we must mention genetic testing for selecting diet and exercise. Scientists have identified genes that influence metabolism, ability to gain muscle mass, endurance, and other physical parameters. This allows for the creation of individual nutrition and training programs that are maximally effective for a specific person. For example, some people's genes promote better protein absorption, while others' genes are better for carbohydrates. For some, strength training is effective, for others, cardio. All this can be determined through genetic analysis. It's as if you had a personal dietitian and trainer who know your genetics and create a program just for you. Imagine knowing which foods are good for you and which are harmful simply because you have a genetic analysis. Genetics of intelligence. But genetics isn't just about physical health. It also influences our intelligence, memory, learning ability, and even creativity. There are genes associated with brain volume, number of neurons, speed of nerve impulse transmission, and other parameters affecting cognitive abilities. However, it's important to understand that intelligence is not just the sum of genes. It is formed under the influence of many factors, including education, nutrition, social environment, and even stress levels. Genes create potential, but its realization depends on many external factors. It's as if you had genetic potential, but you decide how to realize it. Imagine you have genetic capital, but you decide how to invest it. Genetics of sleep. One of the most interesting research areas is the genetics of sleep. Scientists have discovered genes that regulate circadian rhythms, sleep duration, sleep depth, and even susceptibility to nightmares. This explains why some people are larks and others are owls. Why some can get by on 4 hours of sleep while others need 8. Why some suffer from insomnia while others sleep like logs. All this has a genetic basis, and understanding these mechanisms can help treat sleep disorders. It's as if you had a genetic alarm clock determining when you wake up and go to sleep. Imagine your sleep schedule is determined by your genes, not your habits. Genetics of sociability genetics also influences our social life. There are genes linked to oxytocin levels, the hormone responsible for trust, attachment, and social behavior. People with certain variants of these genes are more prone to trust, empathy, and social activity. This might explain why some people easily make friends while others prefer solitude. But it's important to understand that genetics is only one factor. Upbringing, culture, and life experience also play an important role in shaping social behavior. It's as if you had a genetic social skill, but you decide how to use it. Imagine your ability to make friends is determined by your genes, but you decide how to use it. Genetics of leadership, another interesting area, is the genetics of leadership. Research has shown there are genes associated with leadership qualities, self-confidence, decision-making ability, and taking responsibility. People with certain variants of these genes more often become leaders in various spheres of life. But again, genetics creates a predisposition, not a guarantee of success. Leadership qualities need to be developed, and this requires effort, learning, and practice. It's as if you had genetic leadership potential, but you decide how to realize it. Imagine you could become a leader simply because you have special genes, but you still have to work on yourself. Genetics of risk genetics also explains why some people are more risk-prone while others prefer stability. There are genes that influence dopamine levels, the neurotransmitter responsible for pleasure and reward. People with certain variants of these genes are more prone to risky behavior because they require more stimulation for pleasure. This might explain why some people become adrenaline athletes while others prefer a calm life. But it's important to understand that risk propensity is not a vice, but simply a genetic feature that can be both useful and harmful depending on the situation. It's as if you had a genetic adrenaline level determining how much you love extreme sports. Imagine your love for danger is determined by your genes, but you decide how to use it. Epigenetics and heritage. Let's return to epigenetics. One of the most amazing discoveries of recent years is that epigenetic changes can be passed to the next generations. This means the experience of our ancestors can leave traces in our DNA. For example, if your great-grandparents experienced famine, it could affect your metabolism and predisposition to certain diseases. If your ancestors experienced severe stress, it could affect your nervous system and behavior. This discovery radically changed our understanding of heredity and showed that we are not just carriers of our parents' genes, but also carriers of their experience. It's as if you had a genetic archive of your ancestors' experience influencing your life. Imagine you carry within you the experience of all your ancestors, even those you never saw. Epigenetics and offspring health, but epigenetics isn't just about negative consequences. It also shows how we can improve the health of future generations. Proper nutrition, physical activity, psychological health, and even meditation can create positive epigenetic changes passed on to children. This means we can not only improve our own health, but also leave a better inheritance for our descendants. This is an amazing opportunity and a huge responsibility. It's as if you had a genetic gift for your children that you can create with your actions. Imagine you could improve your children's health simply by taking care of yourself. Genetic diversity of humanity. Speaking of heritage, we must mention the genetic diversity of humanity. Although all people belong to the same species, we have enormous genetic diversity. This diversity is the result of millennia of evolution, migrations, adaptation to various climatic conditions, and ways of life. For example, people living in high-altitude areas have genetic adaptations helping them better cope with lack of oxygen. People living in sunny regions have adaptations protecting their skin from ultraviolet radiation. Some peoples have genes allowing them to digest milk better in adulthood. All this shows how flexible and adaptable human nature can be. It's as if you had a genetic suit adapting to the environment. Imagine your body could adapt to any conditions simply because you have the right genes. Genetic history of humanity. Interestingly, modern science allows us to trace the genetic history of humanity. Through DNA analysis, scientists can determine where our ancestors came from, what migration routes they used, and which peoples they mixed with. This creates an amazing picture of humanity's journey across the planet and shows how interconnected we all are. Despite external differences, all people share common ancestors and carry the genetic heritage of thousands of generations. It's as if you had a genetic GPS showing your ancestors' path around the world. Imagine you could see the route your ancestors traveled just by analyzing your DNA. The future of genetics, but genetics isn't just about the past and present. It also opens up stunning prospects for the future. Scientists are working on gene therapy that can treat genetic diseases, replace damaged genes, and improve physical and mental abilities. Genome editing technologies are being developed to correct genetic defects even before birth. Artificial organs grown from a patient's own cells are being created. While this sounds like science fiction but is already becoming reality, it's as if you had a genetic wizard who could fix any defects in your DNA. Imagine you could change your genetics like you change text in a document. Ethical questions of genetics, however, these possibilities come with ethical questions. Should we edit the genes of embryos? Can we enhance human abilities beyond the norm? Where is the line between treating diseases and creating superhumans? These questions require deep discussion and moral reflection. Genetics gives us incredible opportunities, but with great power comes great responsibility. It's as if you had a genetic god who could create any people, but you must decide how to use this power. Imagine you could create the perfect human, but must decide what perfect means. In conclusion, I want to say that genetics is not just a science, but a key to understanding the very essence of life. Every day we learn something new about how our body works, how our character is formed, how external factors influence us. This knowledge gives us the opportunity to better understand ourselves, take care of our health, and even change our destiny. But at the same time, it's important to remember that we are not just carriers of genes, but unique individuals capable of making decisions, learning, growing, and creating our own reality. Genetics is the launch pad, not the finish line. The game is just beginning, and each of us has a chance to become the author of our own story. It's as if you had a genetic novel that you write with your entire life. Imagine you are the author of your genetic history, and every day you add new chapters to it. Remember, your DNA is not a sentence but an opportunity. Epigenetics is not a limitation but freedom of choice. And every day, making healthy choices, exercising, learning new things, taking care of your mental health, you are literally rewriting your genetic program. You are becoming the author of your own evolution. And that is the most amazing thing in this life. It's as if you were a genetic writer who could rewrite your story at any moment. Imagine you could change your life simply by making the right choices every day. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new amazing videos. Like, share with friends, write in the comments which topics interest you the most. Together we can unravel all the secrets and become true superheroes of our own lives.